G'day, Kurt Gidley from the Warrington Wolves. This is my best 1 to 13. At fullback, none other than Queenslander, which I don't admit all the time that I love the Queenslanders, but can't go past Billy Slater. I've played with some great fullbacks over the years. Probably a great mentor of mine was Robbie O'Davis when I first came into the grade, famous Newcastle Knights player, and Clive Churchill medalist was Robbie O, and really took me under his wing. But the best fullback I played with was Billy Slater, and he was just wonderful around training. Great, outstanding talker right throughout training, always doing extras, and a wonderful player. Obviously, his speed and the way he used to find his winger, and he's still doing it today, and a tough player for his size. So Billy gets the number 1. All right, the first winger is my Fijian good mate, Kuyuate. There's plenty of wingers who I've played with over the years. Brett Morris is a great one, who I really enjoyed playing with at New South Wales and Australia. There's been loads of great wingers over the years. Anthony Quinn was another tough winger I played with at Newcastle, but Aku was one of my favourites. Just his personality to start with, being a Fijian boy. Pretty fresh at times with some of the things he'd come out with, but just a super tough player. And he used to carry the ball as hard as he possibly could in every carry that he could, and he used to just absolutely do things only he could do. 100-metre tries, 90-metre tries, running over the top of front rowers, you name it. He could just run through a brick wall if you probably told him to. First centre is another Queenslander, Greg Inglis. He's probably, I'd say, he's one of the best players I've ever played with. All the attributes of a great athlete, tall, athletic, strong, fast, amazing skill, super great hands, and a pretty lethal fend on him as well. He has the whole package, Greg does, and although he grew up in New South Wales, he represented Queensland most of his time, but just a really tough opponent to try and handle. If you try and go low on him, he bumps you off. If you go high, you get the big fend, and fairly embarrassed sitting on your backside after you try and tackle him. So my second centre, probably being a bit biased here, but he's my brother Matt. I was very lucky to play the first half of my career with my brother Matt at Newcastle, and always looked up to my older brother. He was a wonderful brother, wonderful mentor, and a super skillful player. I think he revolutionised the centre position with the flick pass, and we had, although I'd never ever seen him practice it. It just that was a natural part of his game that developed over the years, and he had some great wingers right from Darren Albert back in the day who picked up plenty of tries outside of him. Tamana Tahu was another one who had a great time outside of him. Brian Carney at Newcastle in 2006 was winger of the year in 2006, playing outside of Matt. They had a great combination. So, and then obviously when Matt came to St Helens, he had A.D. Gardner outside of him, and again they had a great combination. So Matt picks up the other centre position. My other winger is my former Newcastle Knights teammate, Tamana Tahu. And I just think, Tamana is a bit like Greg Inglis, super great athlete, tall, athletic, great footwork, strong, fast, all these things that you'd hope to be, I suppose, as a professional athlete. He had all those attributes, and I just used to love watching Tamana, the way he used to carry the ball. He used to carry it really aggressively. He had great footwork. You could finish a try off outside of his centre, and played a lot of wing outside of my brother Matt, and had another successful career at Parramatta, and a good friend of mine too, Tamana. But and I've also seen on the other side of it from just carrying the ball, I've seen him fly out of the line and be able to put a shot on a front rower off the tap. So he had that aggressive side that really worked, and he was a wonderful athlete, and very similar to Greg Inglis, I think. My 5'8" position is one of Rugby League's greatest players, I believe, Darren Lockyer. I only played with Lockyer in the Australian team, and I was only a utility coming off the bench, and I just loved his leadership. he was only a pretty small guy, but tough. He used to get knocked around a fair bit, over the years, and I found him a really humble leader. He's a great teammate, great leader. When he speaks, he always seems to say the right thing, and he led with his actions as well. So Darren Lockyer takes up 5/8. Halfback is none other than Andrew Johns, great mate of mine, former Warrington player, Newcastle Knights, representative Australia, New South Wales, the 8th Immortal, and he's happy to call himself the 8th, just to shorten it. So yeah, Joey's a great mate. Helped me a lot during my career, really took me under his wing and would take me down the park on our days off to help me improve as a player and do personal training sessions with me, basically one-on-one. And he used to be able to read the plays in games just a fraction before anything else, and with the ball amazing, kicking the ball amazing, probably revolutionised the game with some of the banana kicks that he was doing, but also a super tough player too, and a great mentor for me. There's been some great halfbacks that have been really good in attack and not so great in defence, and I thought Joey had the balance of being a great attacking player but really tough defender as well. So he's been a great mentor, and I've been really lucky to have him part of my career. Okay, my first front rower, another Fijian who I seem to love all my Fijian teammates. Ashton being another one. Arku, of course, being a Fijian, but Petro Sivnasiva was a great competitor. It was a bit of a feared one, to be honest, playing against Petro. Obviously, the size of him, and I don't think I've ever seen anyone put a shot on Petro during his whole career. Not that I remember. He always used to, carry the ball as hard as he could. He had great body position when he hit the line, and he was just a great leader as well. He didn't have a lot to say, Petro, but when he did say something, everyone listened and everyone respected it. And then he also had the balance of having a good time outside of training and outside of the games. And I remember we done a tour here in 2009, Four Nations tour, and I used to remember looking across the nightclub and Big Petro would be always there in the corner, one of the last there, and the big cheesy smile on his face, and he always brought a smile to my face, and he was a great competitor and a great teammate. For the hooker, I can't split two blokes really. I've got Cameron Smith, who I think could be one of the best players ever to play the game, and he's still breaking records these days at the moment, which is amazing. The amount of games he's played and the amount of origins and tests that he's played, and also the amount of minutes that he plays in every game. He regularly knocks out 80 minutes every performance, and the workload that he does in every match is phenomenal. And he again revolutionised probably a kicking game from dummy half. Not many hookers have been able to kick successfully out of dummy half, and he kicks like a halfback and plays as tough as any hooker that I've seen, and has ball skills like a halfback. So he's one of the best that I've ever played with and played against, and been a great competitor, but one of my best mentors and great mates. Also plays hooker is Danny Medeiros, and again, really tough as a hooker, great leader. Whenever he speaks really passionately and speaks with plenty of emotion. And he was a great friend of mine, but a great mentor and someone who I really learnt a lot off as a captain. He's Bedsy, and he, one of my great teammates in Newcastle. But I know he had a great, successful career here in the UK and at Leeds. Okay, my other front row position is probably split between a couple of local boys here over in the UK. I first played with Sam Burgess in the inaugural All-Stars game, All-Stars versus the Indigenous team a few years ago now that was. But yeah, Sam came across as a great leader. He was probably only pretty young at that stage, but an aggressive carrier of the ball, aggressive defensively. He wants to hurt you whether he's carrying the ball or trying to tackle you. And a really good fellow too, off the field. So he was a bit of a fierce front row player who I've played against. And more recently, my great teammate and club captain here, Chris Hill. First impressions, just the way he carries the ball, his footwork for a big guy, He's great, light feet, can always get his nose through the line. And then, something that struck me as a surprise, probably because I didn't know a lot about his game previously, was the soft hands. He has a great ability to find a support runner with soft hands like a halfback. And then probably to wrap it up, his work rate. My first year here at Warrington in 2016, he just used to play big minutes, huge amount of carries, huge amount of meters, always working hard in defence. And I guess, that's what you want out of a great leader and a captain. And I think we all admires the way he plays and the way he captains the team and leads by example with his actions. So it's been an absolute pleasure playing with him. But in the end, who gets the jumper? I'm going to go with Hilly on that, probably because it's more recently in my mind and my memories. But I've really enjoyed my time playing alongside Hilly. Been a great captain. A really tough opponent, I believe, for other people to try and handle defensively. So he gets that position. Okay, down to my back row, my two back rowers. They're two former Newcastle Knights teammates for me, and two of the most feared guys when I first came into full-time training. Ben Kennedy is the first one. BK was, he looked like a bit of a cranky dude to start with when I first came into full-time training, and I think he had that fear factor about him. Like Sam, I was just talking about, some of those guys who play the forwards need to have that fear factor about them, and you want the opposition to be thinking twice about tackling them and generally just going against them in opposition. But BK was an aggressive runner of the ball. He had a great offload through the line. He had an outstanding career at the Newcastle Knights. Well, at Canberra, the Newcastle Knights, and then at Manly, he had a great combination with Brett Stewart. Whenever he used to offload, Brett Stewart used to be there and scored plenty of tries off him. But Ben Kennedy, I remember, I'll move to my other back rower, his former Newcastle teammate, Steve Simpson. And both of them are a lot of similarities, both tall, rangy, run the ball aggressively, could put a great shot on him defensively. But probably a couple of my earliest memories, we used to play some beach footy, six-a-side beach footy during our pre-season. And you knew it was always going to be tough when they say bring your mouth guard and bring an old footy jumper. So during training, you used to get up in teams, split into teams of six, put your old footy jumper on, mouth guard or gum shield as you guys call it over here, in, and it was just free for all, six-a-side, absolutely rip into each other. And I was always hoping, cross my fingers behind my back, that I was on BK or Steve Simpson's side, and I would just basically hide behind those guys until we were obviously playing the opposite team, which had BK or Steve Simpson in it, and they would even go head to head in a pretty heated battle as well. And I remember that was some early memories of welcome to first grade and get ready for a tough career. My final position. There's been some wonderful locks over the years who I've played with. Billy Peden was a great one from Cessnock, where from Joey's from, and a great leader and a club captain at the Newcastle Knights. Greg Bird was another guy who played probably back row and lock, and he's from Maitland, not far from Newcastle, where I'm from, and some great ball skills, a tough player for lock, but probably the guy who I couldn't go past is Paul Gallen. He's had a wonderful career at the Sharks. He's been a great leader for New South Wales. He's been picked for the Australian team for many years, and he just led by example. He probably didn't have a lot to say, Gallen, in team meetings or even in the sheds, but he just led by example, and I thought that was a great way for him to speak his words by carrying the ball and the workload that he used to do and defensive efforts. I remember he played 80 minutes for an Origin at front row one year, and it's basically unheard of that. And if you can only imagine how hard Origin games are, to play 80 minutes at front row, it's an amazing effort. So for a captain, I'd have to shorten it down to Andrew Johns, Darren Lockyer, Cameron Smith, Danny Baderis. Those four guys, two Queenslanders, two New South Wales, and they're all four people that I learnt lots of things off, and they were great leaders. They all led with their actions. They, they were all great talkers, around training, in team meetings, in video sessions, in the sheds before you went out, and obviously during games. But if I had to pick one out of those four, I'd probably pick Joey, because he's been a great influence on my career. He was a tough player. He showed his passion, his passion overflowed more probably than the other three guys at times. But I enjoyed that part of his passion and his emotions. We used to get cranky at times and angry at different plays if they didn't come off, but that was his emotion and his passion spilling over, and he'd be my captain. My best coach that I've had, two of my favourites, and these were both at New South Wales and at Australian level. Craig Bellamy was one of my favourites. Again, so passionate when he speaks and aggressive at times, which I enjoyed. Had him for State of Origin for a number of years, and Belly was a great fella. Studied the game really hard, spoke really passionately during the week, before games, at half time. Really emotional with his speeches and aggressive at times, which I enjoyed. And at Aussie level and New South Wales again was Ricky Stewart. And Sticky was probably, I just loved his emotion. There was times when he gave speeches and he couldn't finish them off because the emotions were getting a little bit too high, and he had to walk away from some speeches, and I loved it. I loved that those emotions spilled over, and I probably found myself to be a similar personality to him, because I've been captain at the Knights for a number of years. I've had my emotions spill over at different times and not being able to finish off things that I wanted to say myself, just because I'm passionate and I love my teammates and want to do the best by them and want to lead by example. And I thought Ricky Stewart I had a lot of similarities with.